Jodie's giving us a presentation called Keeping Play Alive in the Curriculum. And a little bit about Jodie. She's been involved in early childhood education for more than 20 years. Jodie's career began in Australia working in childcare centres in a variety of teaching and management positions before transitioning to public education in 2007. And in 2012, she began working in higher education and is currently an assistant professor in teacher education at the University of Wisconsin Superior. One of her current research interest areas is restoring play pedagogy in early primary classrooms. Lovely, lovely. And Dr. Bill is a professor of early childhood education. He has held positions at various colleges and universities, starting his distinguished career as a professor of early childhood education at Finchbury State College. In addition to teaching, Dr. Bill is the founder coordinator of the New England Symposium on Play, an organisation that aims to support early childhood professionals in promoting and implementing practices that highlight the importance of play in the lives of young children. And we all know how important play is.
Thank you. So we're very excited. As I said, we're presenting from the United States, and I am, as you can tell, I'm an Australian and I'm a Queensland girl, and I'm currently the Vice President of ACTA as well. But I'm very excited that because I was planning on coming back home for this conference and bringing Bill to my lovely home country with us. And unfortunately, due to COVID, we have not been able to do that. So I'm just really excited that I can still see you all, your faces, and get to see you and present still. So thank you for joining us. It's something that play is something so passionate to both myself and Dr. Bill. So we're very excited about that. So we want to do a quick poll. Just pop in the chat box. Who is in attendance? Are you an early years educator working in early years childcare? Are you a kindergarten teacher? Are you a prep or grade 1, grade 2 or grade 3 teacher? Maybe a school administrator or in another field that related to early childhood? Let us know and that will help us out. Oh, we've got everybody coming. Look at this. So exciting. Oh, wow. Okay, now Belle, for your reference, Kindy and Kit is pre-K to translate to the United States. And prep is kindergarten for us in the US. Early years educators, early years support consultant for prep to second grade, studying primary and early childhood, currently working in childcare. Whoop, whoop. That's awesome because that's certainly the pathway I took as well. So working in childcare and studying and then moving forward through. So go you. Love it. Child development therapist. We've got a bit of everybody, Bill. This is super exciting. Fantastic. All right, so let's get going. And hopefully we'll keep ourselves on track and on time. Take it away, Dr. Bill. Don't forget to unmute. You've got to unmute, Dr. Bill. He's forgotten.
Unmute.
There you go. Good. Good.
So you can hear me now.
Mm-hmm.
Does my voice sound like I'm me?
Yes.
Okay, good. Thank you. So, hi, everyone. Thank you very much, Jodie, for inviting me. This is very exciting. I am an early educator for many, many years. These last 2 years, I have been a substitute teacher in programs from preschool, which is 3 and 4 year olds, up to 5, and then all the way up through the kindergarten, 1st, 2nd, and 3rd grade, and all the way up to 6th grade these past 2 years, in addition to my other types of work. This is up in what's called Rowe, Massachusetts, which is right on what we would call the Massachusetts-Vermont border. So it's way up north and up in the hills, as we would say. So I have loved that particular aspect of my work as a professor, and then back into the classroom. That's always been part of my life. Is not only am I involved in teaching people who want to spend their lives with young children, but I'm in the classroom also working directly with young children. So I love the opportunity for me to not only talk shop about play, but be involved in play. And I hope I get to carry around my computer and show you a veritable plethora of materials that I hope speak to you and certainly speak to me in terms of the kinds of things we would look at when we explore the phenomena of play. I'm a developmentalist, so that for me, when I look at child development and I look at play, like I look at many, many things in terms of my therapeutic work with children and families, as a developmentalist, I look at those wonderful 5 developmental domains: social, emotional, cognitive, linguistic, motoric, and also values. So I look at lots of different aspects of human growth and development when I'm looking at the phenomena of play. How'd I do so far? Okay, so I don't know if I need to read that. I don't think I need to read that. You've already read that said that we're going to focus in on the play. Birth to 8. There it is, supporting the optimal development of young children through play. On your marks, set, click. Oh, cool. So here you go. It's your turn. Well, it's all of our turn in a way. So the importance of play. We'll certainly get to that because you wild and wacky folks are in our session. So you must think play is somehow relevant, meaningful, and important. So what is it? What is play? Something to think about. Why is play critical to young children's development? And no, it's not just young children's development. I would say developmentally, it's from birth to 100 and on beyond zebra. But we don't call it play when we're adults. We call that recreation. Oh, brilliant. So we changed the term. Yeah, you're still playing. We're still out doing lots of things that is relaxing, enjoyable, fun. And don't you want to do that? Isn't that important for our overall healthy development? I think they call that vacation here in the States when people leave their work and for a week or two, they go off and they play. They go to different places to relax or to bike or to hike or to swim or just to lay out on the beach. Who knows? But that's all related to, I think, the concept and the ideas of being playful. So you saw those other couple of messages. How do we foster play? Can we still play? This is a tough one. In an age of accountability, everything has to be accounted for. We've got to test. We've got to continue to determine whether or not these people are growing, developing, and they're going to come away as intellectually superior and whatever else that people are expecting when we look at the phenomenon of testing and evaluating children. Interesting questions and interesting issues. Next slide, please. So, look at these little biddies here. Can we say play anymore? Well, here you go. Harvard Grad School looks at this. Elizabeth Goodenough's work. Oh, by the way, this is a PBS special. I'm not sure if you get I'm sure you must, public television. But there is a very interesting video or program that Goodenought developed called The Secret Places of Childhood. Really looking at where did children play, which I also think is fascinating. It's kind of a neat thing if you get a chance to look that up. And then, of course, our New York Times issues, we find that from there, the state of play, the foundation's work on that, and, of course, A Case for Play, how a handful of researchers are trying to save childhood in the Chronicle of Higher Education. When we're done, by the way, I have a number of articles, materials, and different associations and organizations that have sort of emerged online. And if you would like all of those, just email me and I'll send you that listing that I have of all those different relatively new organizations that really are worldwide that speak to play. Okay, so if that is of interest to you, just send me an email. Okay, that was a commercial. Okay, next slide. Okay, I have something in the way here. my screen is a little over here. So current issues, if we look at this, here you go. Brain research, right now the phenomenon of outdoor play. I know for us in the States, children are losing that, but it's starting to come back, meaning that they're in schools for such long hours and they don't have a lot of opportunity to be involved in outdoor play. Organized sports and what that means. Of course, the issue of obesity and children really not doing much of anything other than, this thing called a computer, which is something that we have to look at in terms of the amount of use and what children are doing or not doing. Play and bullying, and certainly technology and what that means in terms of children's play. Okay, next slide, if you would. Click. I can't read this because you are all, the three of us are right in front of those. I
can read it for you, Bill. It's all good. So reflecting on our own theories of play, like what we grew up with and what our concepts of play influence how we see play today. And not that, but also what our peers, our supervisors, the frameworks that we work within all impact our theories of play. So why do you think children play? What do you believe is the purpose of children's play? How does this purpose work? How does it increase flexibility or imagination, social skills, or whatever you believe to be the purpose of play? What is the relationship between play and learning? To what extent should young children play? And that's always a real hard question, especially as we move into those primary grades. How much play should we allow and have provide time for within our curriculum space? To what ages is important, and should play be encouraged in early childhood programs? Should it be encouraged in our formal schooling in primary school? Should it be encouraged at home?
Brilliant. And yes, great questions. I think things for all of us to take a look at, and I'm hoping those will be useful for us as we really take a step back and look at this. If we had this session in a location where we were all together, we would probably break down into our smaller groups or our tables and talk a little bit about some of these things and come up with some interesting ideas. Geez, for me, over the past 25 years of presenting around the country and to our national conferences, that's always been a wonderful opportunity to talk shop with each other related to the phenomenon of play. So, okay, click. Oh, I love this one. Now, I didn't do the picture. That's yours, Jodie. Thank you for that. So, characteristics of play. I think that's what it says. Again, the three of us are off to the side. So, Jodie, you're going to have to you're going to have to help me a little bit. So, look at some of the things that us researchers and psychologists and mental health people and all kinds of folks have thought about when we look at this phenomena of what do we see when we look at characteristics of children's play. And I'm hoping everybody's play. So, what do you got? I see the first one, positive affect. Look at the little face on that person. Look at the face. Yep.
Positive affect. Non-literally, like internal reality taking precedence over external reality, the as-if stance towards reality.
Yep.
Intrinsic motivation, play comes from within the player themselves, and play offers its own rewards, therefore. Process orientation, the attention focuses on the activity itself, not the goal of the activity, but the actual, so what we've always heard, like through our own studies as well, process, not product. And I'm sure that resonates with everybody. Free choice, the pleasure is the key factor, differentiating play and work for fifth graders. And freedom from externally imposed rules and active engagement.
Interesting. I like those. Oh, I wrote those, sorry. Okay, click. Next. Oh, okay, here we go. Characteristic play, continued flexibility, quirkiness, spontaneity, freedom. Whoa, and okay, your turn, people who are out there, since I can't see any of you anyway. So yes, and what would you like to add here? So can you take a few, maybe 30 seconds or a minute and think for a second of a characteristic of play that you run across with the children that you work with, or if there's a particular child or someone who just expressed or really did something that really relates to your thinking about the characteristics of play. And just throw that up there for us to take a look at, or you two to look at, because I won't be able to see that, unfortunately. On your marks, get set, go.
We've got joyful in the chat and fun.
Oh, good.
Persistence. Oh, I love that one. Exciting. Creativeness, trial and error of what they're exploring. Communication, relaxing. Yeah.
Oh, these are good. Keep going.
Yeah, keep
Don't
going.
stop. How many are there in our session?
20 at the moment. There's 20 of us.
Okay, there's 3. All right, come on, 17 of you. Okay.
Yeah.
You don't have to do one, just do one. Yeah. Resilience, ownership. Oh, I like that.
Connecting.
See how you can read some of them.
Imagine early childhood teachers know this. Yeah, yeah, we do. Well, and so here's the thing. I always like the word being in growth. because that's and immersed. They're the words I like. They like when you've got a kid that's they're so the world could blow up around them
Mm-hmm.
and so engrossed in play.
Absolutely.
Yeah. In fact,
And they do.
I was about to say, and we all see that, like, for example, when they're so engrossed in play, they forget to use the restroom, they forget to run to the toilet. So,
I think of repetition.
yeah,
where children will revisit and revisit. That's important play.
Yep, absolutely. Social, exploratory, problem solving, risk. Oh, I love risk taking in play. Building
enjoyment. Yes.
Yes. Beautiful. Beautiful. I think we've got some good ones there, Bill.
Yeah, that's nice. I like those. Let's write those down. Oh no, you already did.
We did, because the chat's getting saved. That's so good.
Okay.
All right,
that's right. Okay, next, please.
Next. This is the
Click.
fun, Bill. This is where you get to get up. So this
Oh,
is
good. Okay.
we want you to have.
Are you ready?
Yeah, I was about to say, well, we'll have a look, and what we're going to do is we want you to really think about the materials that you have in your classrooms and or in your learning spaces. Mm-hmm. So I've put some just some general images that you might have in your learning spaces here on the slide, but Bill is so excited. He's like super crazy excited to share. He has set up his entire room with a whole bunch of toys, and he's going to show them to you. And so Bill, if you want to get up and start.
Okay, I'll start doing that. Thank you.
Yeah.
Here I go. I'm going to go slow.
What we want to do, we want you to do, is we really want you to think about how can we use these toys and think about how can we present them to children in a way that is playful and joyful, but still meeting the requirements that we need to meet in our roles, and thinking about that. So there's Bill's, I don't know how much stuff you must have taken several suitcases.
Yes, I did.
Yes.
And at this table, you are seeing a variety of different types of blocks, many different kinds. And I have to show you this one right here. I don't know if you're seeing it, but where you see the ABCs right there, that's a classic wooden block set that goes back to the early 1800s. And here's a more modern one. But when you take a look at that, take a look at the block and all the different, not only letters that are on there, but also the different kinds of images that are also placed on those blocks as well. And if you look at a block, how many different sides there are to that. And of course, I've provided you with a diversity. Oh, that's the Cuisinart rods straight up there. Have you seen them? And then these are blocks that you can build sort of just vertically. But here's another one where you can do the exact same thing, except for now you can go in all different directions. Whoa. And the young children have such tremendous opportunity to do so many different things with blocks. And of course, helping them in terms of numeracy and tactile opportunities. Oh, by the way, I've got to ask you, is anyone in our group having a birthday today?
Not
Hello?
me.
Anyone?
Nobody, I don't think.
Did anybody answer?
We can pretend. Half birthday.
All right.
It's
Guess
not my
what?
birthday, Bill.
Look what I have for you. A birthday cake. And they're made out of soft, squishy fabric. Here's the piece of cake, and it has a little candle that's also Velcroed. So of course the children have such a blast when we have a day when we're going to have a birthday, that the children can, quote unquote, bake a cake and give it to everybody, and we can sing our songs. How fun is that? How am I doing so far?
Doing good. I stopped sharing.
Go ahead.
So they can see you on the big screen.
Oh, okay.
So you're good.
All right, and you can see all these things, interesting phenomena. Some are hard, some are soft. Here are the little hacky sack kinds of things that if you recall, children used to, well, and even kids older, were kicking these about and doing a lot of eye-hand coordination kinds of things. Mm-hmm. Get ready. Here's one of my favorite areas. Stuffed creatures, puppets, things that we use when we're playing, a diversity of depths, things, dinosaurs, which I don't know if you do, but I know the children, then many of the children I would love dinosaurs. Here are some beautiful dolls that I've collected from around the world. Some are from, I've got Mexico represented here. I have South America and Argentina, Venezuela. Karina, was created for me. She is my baby doll. And then here are a couple of other baby dolls that are over here as well. Mm-hmm. I'm going slow because I don't want you to get sick.
That's okay. What we would have liked to have done, obviously, we're just trying to give you a variety of things to think about, because if we were on boots on the ground, Bill would have brought all these suitcases with him. Not sure if he would have got them all through customs, but he would have brought them with him, yes. And we would have let you have a bit of a play to really think about the use of these toys.
Absolutely. Now, here we get abstract. Oh, look at these things here. These, oh, whoa, what are these? I think you would call them, if I'm not mistaken, these are all elephants, but look what's on them. Oh, no. Some have numbers or numerals on them. Oh, my gosh, but this one has a TEN on it. So some are words, some are the number, and some have these little dots on them. This is really weird. What is that all about? And then look at these things. They're actually stones, but on these stones are carved these things called letters. That's right, letters. And I could put those letters together. I wonder what we could create with those letters. And of course, I like to do this because we look at size. And this is a particular set of these cool little nesting dolls, from smallest to biggest or tallest, etc. You will notice the hats. I'm not sure if you're big into Dr. Seuss, but I have a number of the Dr. Seuss hats because we do something in America called Read Across America, and that's really something held on March 2nd, which is Dr. Seuss's actual birthday. So we do that on an annual basis. Okay, going back to sit down.
Dressing up on that day. There's a lot of playfulness on that day too, because a lot of kids will dress up. A bit like our book week back home. You know how we have book week and everyone dresses up to their favorite book character? Yes. So I'm going to share, well, you can all see me. You should be seeing me as the main presenter now. But so things like, you know, your rainbow blocks, things like that. And I've got, remember the old weighted, oops. I've got a limited space. I don't have a nice big room like Bill. But the old 3 bears that are weighted. Do you know what I'm talking about? The weighted bears that we had. They look a bit like, I'm just trying to open the bag. Of course, the bag, when you want it to open, doesn't open. Remember the little bears that look like that? And then we've got things like, I really like these are, I'm such a desperate teacher that when I was working in schools, I couldn't wait for the school to share like the resource room, so I bought my own of MABs. I am so sad, but I love them because they're blocks, and so and kids always use them as blocks rather than the MABs that we're using for math, so early math concepts. The other thing that I really like doing is having just a felt board. Literally, I went and bought felt and just made out of cardboard a felt board, and then just got a variety of felt pieces that they can make up their own stories and do lots of literacy through that as well. So thinking differently about how can we do these and how can we use these toys to support learning, not just in our classrooms but also at home as well, and thinking about how do we find the spaces for play in our work, and how do we not just finding the space, but then how do we advocate that and really talk about the use of play and the value of play. And so not just having these curriculum items then to really link the curriculum and learning and play, but also providing space for that pure organic play that we know that is valuable as well. So I'm going to go back to sharing the PowerPoint.
You know what's cool? I can see people's names. Oops, I did see people's names before. That was pretty cool.
That's because we're all kids.
Excuse me.
So, I should have made sure that, I'll just make sure that share is going to get, no, it's perfect. Okay. So let's move on. So I was going to say, everybody now, Bill and I, well, Bill got a little stand-up break. So let's all, just because we're all sitting for such a long time today, let's do a little stretch. So stand up and stretch.
I'm stretching.
We need that. And for many of my colleagues back home in Queensland, I know that you have been very flexible, and you've only just recently gone back in term 2 to back onto campus to teach again. But you've been very flexible, haven't you, in doing online as well. And so we feel you, because we're doing it over here too. So, but yes, so we need that stretching, because we're not getting up and moving anywhere as near as much as we used to due to the COVID, because we're on screens. So I'm glad you took that little stretch break. Okay, so thinking about, we're going back to that initial question, what is play, and what is its purpose in the work that we do? And so play is really that natural, important aspect of childhood. It's something that we innately do to learn. Okay, it's a way the child can master and clarify skills and concepts in a way in which the child interacts with the world. I actually really like, I use a term, and I use play as an acronym, and I call it purposeful learning accentuating yourself. That's what play is. Okay, it really is. It's really purposeful learning accentuating yourself, that you're driving it, you're playing it, you're learning. And I always use the analogy that, you know, when we get a new device, very few of us tend to read the instructions booklet before we turn it on. Okay, what do we do to learn this new device? We play with it, don't we? We figure it out. So these are the sort of things that we innately know about play. So it occurs anywhere at any time, and is a central activity for childhood. And we all know, we have kids that there's what we as adults call an appropriate time for playing and a appropriate time for sitting and doing. And so we have, when we have these times, children always inevitably find a way to find that little space or something you never thought would be playful. They'll find it, and they'll find the play in it, and they'll play as well. So it's spontaneous, it's active, it's non-goal directed, it's voluntary, it's enjoyable, and it's engaging, and usually it's contagious.
I like that idea.
Oh, we absolutely. I maybe it's just me as an early childhood teacher, but I find it the kid that finds the space to play, and you go, oh, you clever little thing, and you go, okay, I'm running with it, let's go. So, you know, it's something that I think is really important. Okay, so in our standardized curriculum, as I said, I'm a Queensland girl. I know that I was working as an early childhood educator back in the days of preschool, when we had preschool, and it was purely 100% play. And then we brought in prep and so forth, and we really felt the pressure. And I know that we have got the age-appropriate pedagogies now that we're embracing, but we still feel a sense of loss, I think, totally, and overall. And certainly my research, which was based in Queensland and done in Queensland around with Queensland teachers, certainly reflected that teachers were feeling a very much of a loss of play and opportunity of play, particularly moving forward through the early primary years. But what they did come up with a shared definition about teaching methods which were inherently kinesthetic. They were widely cited within the study as being a place where you could displace engagement and really displace that traditional didactic approach, and actually really finding the place to move and the freedom to be engaged in learning. And the number one spot which they found it was in math manipulatives. That's where they found it. And I think that's where we find a lot, because we have a lot of those hands-on materials, and kids, without a doubt, play with it, right? They do. You'll go, okay, but you're meant to be counting with those, but we're playing farms, or we're playing dinosaurs, or whatever. Okay, as we're doing it, right? That's what kids do. They're clever. Same with the Unifix cubes. I love you. That's another thing I bought and I couldn't wait to share. But Unifix cubes, I love Unifix cubes, because how many times they make things out, and you're like, we're meant to be counting with them, but instead we're making things with them. So all these sort of things. So it's really quite interesting that that's the space. But these are the things we need to find space for our play in there. So math's a really good one. And then thinking outside of the box too, our playgrounds. So you could use your curriculum. And teachers said they'll take kids out into the playground in the early primary schools and do things like positional language, directional language, obstacle courses, things like that. I would also encourage you to really think about how can you use your playground duty, things like that. And I will share a story. I shared this with Bill. He thought it was hilarious. So did many teachers at the time, and kids and families when it happened. But several years ago, when I was teaching in prep, it was my turn for playground duty. And I always found that rather than walking around, because I found that really boring. I don't know about anyone else, but I found it super ridiculously boring just to stand there and walk around and make sure the kids are all doing the right thing and keeping safe and whatnot. So I would typically engage them in play. I'd go play soccer, or if we're climbing all over the obstacle course, whatever it was. And this particular day, the kids decided that we were going to play dinosaurs. And so they were playing, and they went, "Miss Riek, you're the T-Rex." I said, "Okay, I'm the T-Rex, let's go." And so I was going, whoa, and I'm chasing them, and we're running around, and we just had a great time. And then we'd catch, and then we'd laugh, and then we'd keep going. And of course, I'm still, as I'm running around, I'm still keeping an eye on everything and doing my job and whatnot. But by the end of that playground duty, which I had the second half, and we had the bell goes to line up and finish the playground, I had no voice left. I roared so loud that my voice had gone. And so here I am with preppies going, "You need to line up and we need to go inside." And the kids thought it was hilarious. They're like, "Miss Riek roared too loud. She's gone. Her voice is gone." And they just thought it was the funniest thing. It was fine by the next day, thank goodness. They talked about that for months, that we played so much. And so the engagement of that, I rarely wrote a behavior ticket out in the playground because we're always engaged. And so the 7th graders, because we still had 7th grade when I was teaching in primary school, so the 7th graders were always keen for me to have their playground duty, because they were like, "Well, what a week! We're going to give you a game of soccer. Let's go! Come on, Miss Riek, we'll beat you." I'm like, "Okay, come on, let's go." So having that playful moment with them is so important. Okay. Board games. I can't tell. These are literally out of my cupboard. And when I was preparing this presentation, my husband actually said to me, "Are they our games that are on your slide?" I said, "Yes, they're literally out of our cupboard." So, but having these games, I had these are out of my, when I say they're out of my cupboard, these were actually in my classroom. That's how long I've had them. These were in my classroom and we played them all the time. But I used to stick on them the standards, curriculum standards that they hit. So think about all the curriculum standards that you could hit with Boggle about literacy, okay? And then literally I printed them out, stuck them on. And so then I could take that home and say that would be the homework assigned. Play some Boggle with your family. And then the families could see, by playing this game, I'm supporting my child by hitting this area of curriculum. And I could also then document that to show that I am addressing those areas of curriculum through these practices. So things like Scrabble, categories, Monopoly, there's a whole range of games that I don't have any with me because I literally have limited space. I have, actually what I do have, Fishing for Math. And I have, this is a really early one, but we've got our listening lottos. And I literally used to make my own using a program called Audacity, which is a free, I'm sure everyone's probably heard of it, but it's a free downloadable. And I used to record different sounds, and I used to go out and record them in the playground of kids playing. I go, now you have to listen and guess where that is in the school. And I'd have photos that they'd have to guess and do the lotto as well. Or you can make your own with, you know, words that they were doing for the week or whatever. Again, just having that playful notion in your program. Finding spaces also in our literacy area. So this book, I said to Bill, a lot of early childhood colleagues back home, I'm sure, are familiar with Fidgety Fish. It's a fairly popular book. The Fidgety Fish and Friends, and it's a book full of poetry, right? And so it's just one of my favorites. And what I did was, well, we read it a few times. I thought, how can I extend kids to, to engage them in other areas? So I needed to teach poetry. We did that through the book. I needed to also get a speech assessment, a drama assessment, a performance assessment, and a presentation assessment done on my students in prep at that time. And so I was trying to think very creatively, how can I do this in a playful manner? So I wrote a play using the poems in the Fidgety Fish book. And I'm just going to make a new share and share with you a Word document, because what I did, and let's share that. So hopefully you can you just give me a thumbs up, Jennifer? Can you see that Word document well? Yep, perfectly. Okay, so you can see we've got all the characters out of the book there, and I literally assigned every kid a character, even kids that weren't comfortable in speaking. Like we had quite a number that just were a little ultra shy, and so you can see there's some parts that have no speaking parts, they're just performing. Okay, and so I made sure to accommodate that as well. Then I literally, if I scroll down a bit, and hopefully that's scrolling nicely with you, I just used, you can see here, well, here we are under the sea. So that's for the first poem. And then I just put songs in that they know. So this one is a song that you may not know, but it's called This Is My School Family. And it was one that my students knew regularly. And so we went through, and then they would go through and do the next poem, which was Enter Fidget. I'm Fidgety Fish, and I like to have lots of fun. I play, explore, and learn until the day is done. So they came through and they did this. Now, they practiced this for, like, they chose their characters and that they wanted to play, and then ones that weren't as comfortable, I sort of guide them towards certain roles I thought they'd be good at. And so we did that, and I cut them up, and I said, this is your little bit of homework to practice this one at home, and if you don't practice at home, that's okay, we can practice here. And so we did that. But they designed all the costumes, they drew pictures of what the costumes should look like, and I said, we're going to put on a play, we're going to do, and so they would pretend and practice in the play. It was, once I planted the seed, they just played with it. So out in the playground, they were practicing every which way. So it's really quite a cute one. I'm going to show you a little clip from it. This is let me just do a new share and go back to the PowerPoint. I'm going to show you a little clip. I'm not going to show you it all because it goes for quite a bit. And I was very excited to know that I didn't actually record this. This is actually from a parent that recorded it. I'm actually sitting down the front of where the kids are, actually ticking off little boxes. I said to them, Miss Riek's so old. Do you know how Miss Riek writes notes all the time and takes a lot of photos? They went, yeah, because you can't remember anything. And I went, that's right. So I'm going to do that on the day too. I'm just going to take a little bit of notes to remember how well you did. And so I was sitting down at the front, ticking off, did they do this? So I was assessing them at that point while they're performing for all their families. So all their families were there. The principal was there, the deputy principal, and they were so excited that everyone came. It was such a success that the grade 7ers actually asked for us to perform it the next day as well. So we did a couple of versions of it. But let me just show you this little bit. So what you can see here that you probably didn't hear it super clear because Cameron was using his very quick voice, but he was the crab and he was clicking and clacking, and so what we sang after that was now come on, I know you as Australians all know that, right? We all know that song. And so that was something that we did. So we just used songs that they knew and they sang, and so it became very playful. And so I was able to assess them. I was able to hit all that language arts. There was a little boy in particular that had a speech impediment, and he had a very small speaking part, and he used to whisper everything because he knew he had a speech impediment. He came out, and we had him as one of 3 starfish, and he held hands with the other 2 starfish, and he did his bit proudly. And at the end, I've never heard him talk so loudly or so much. He was so excited and so proud of himself. Now you can see there's a lot, I mean, the costumes and all that, and I will be honest, this is in actually one of, you could be mistaken, think it was in a nice leafy green suburb. This is actually in Morayfield, if you know the area well. This is a very low socioeconomical area. So I actually did purchase all the material myself, and I was up until some wee hour, crazy hour, finishing off the costumes for this, sewing for the kids. But you don't need all those fancy costumes. You could really just make them yourself. And so it was just a nice process. But what I loved about it in particular was they designed it, they chose it. It was all pretty much guided by them once we had the main idea. So you don't want to watch again. We love you, Cameron, but not continually. So other spaces, using things like hopscotch, considering your large movement, particularly for literacy and numeracy, getting them to do their phonics through the hopscotch, getting them to do their numbers through hopscotch, and having that space for that. Particularly, we know if we want to get them to do better handwriting, we know they can't do that fine motor unless they conquer the gross motor, right? So let's provide them with some opportunities for that and to get that completed. So what's our role as teachers in this process? Well, we have many roles, but one of the key ones really is that we need to be observing them, and we need to be really guiding their play through that. And so we can take notes, we can observe, we can really look at learning about how are they developing, learning more about development itself, but what stages of play are they in also. The other role is really about planning a curriculum. How are we going to use their play and their interests to plan our curriculum and effective instruction, to really hook into that and make it playful, so we've got that engagement, and so we've got higher engagement and lower, class management issues that we need to be having. So we can really do that. How can we use the organic play to make connections through that process as well? That's a really important part as well. And I know you know this, but sometimes it's hard to do, I know, once we're in the space of we need to be getting this ready for, this particular assessment piece coming up, how do we do this? Because we know that we've got, I've got to hit everything ready to do portfolios. I've got to make sure I've hit all the standards. I've got to hit all these, or I'm about to do transition statements. How do I make sure that I've covered everything I need to do in all the transition statements? Those sort of things. Also, we need to be thinking about our role about how do we support children's progress in that organic play towards educational and development objectives. So I always think about it as our role, like a bit like a tour guide. If we went to a country we'd never been to before and we went by ourselves, we would probably miss some really key important historical artifacts or important points of the country because we've never been there before. We don't know all the little intricate parts, the nuances of it. Whereas a tour guide, if we went with a tour guide, they would literally say, well, let's have a look over here at this building. This is really significant in history because of da 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 da. And you go, oh, that's really interesting to know. It's a bit like that as our role as teachers in the organic play, taking some time to go, that's really fascinating about that. Did you know that look at you, you're counting and you're organizing. I can hear that you're doing some, math there, and what you're counting in fives or you're counting in just whatever that is. You can make it very explicit to them that they're actually, look at that. You're using some of that knowledge that we were using in class to play in your play, and really pointing that out and making those connections clear for them. It's also part of our role to ensure that their achievements information is shared, that we advocate our small successes in using play as a way of not just engaging children, but also achieving those learning standards and curriculum standards that we need to be doing, and those assessment tools. So the more we share, the more contagious this becomes. And so it's part of our role to become an advocate for that and an agent of change. So to make space for play, we absolutely need to be celebrating our successes. lifting each other up in that process and really promoting each other and supporting each other through it. So terms that we have are related to the role of the educator, and we hear all this time. So being uninvolved, sometimes standing back. You don't want to interrupt, and we've all had that experience, I think, as teachers, where we've gone, that's really good, and I know we've got to go to a music lesson, and oh my God, they're doing such a good job, and so you're trying to really stand back and hold it back. Being the onlooker, you're watching, you're like, this is fabulous, and they know you're watching, and they keep going. That's really cool. The guide, as I was talking about earlier, play leader, matchmaker, director or instructor of play, which is a bit what I was doing with that play, that literacy around fidgety fish. Spectator, peacemaker. I think we do that a lot, don't we? We're quite often a bit of a peacemaker or a deal broker in that response. Storyteller, arbitrator, parallel player. I can tell you, I don't know how many times I've played and copied and mocked, not in a terrible way, but really copied what they're doing, and they sit there and they watch, they go, that's cool. And you can see they do a bit further. Will she do it the same as I'm going to do it? So it's that playful process. A play tutor, in helping them to take those risks. So somebody said about risk taking. Encourage them to take those risks. Let's see how if you do this. I wonder, you could do it. I reckon you could try, and really encouraging that and really tutoring them through the process. A participant, a stage manager, and there's so many more. How many more roles can you think of in your role as a teacher that would involve play? Just pop them in the chat box. Bill, can you think of any more while I'm rattling those off?
No, I think that's very good. You've got quite a few there.
We do have quite a few.
Mm-hmm.
I do think, though, I just think back about my time in primary, and think about, how many times that I've had to interrupt play due to our schedules. I've got to go to math, or I've got to go to PE, or I've got to go to music or art, or we've got to go to parade, all those sort of things. And, that's how do we then respect the play that they're not done? How do we leave that? Particularly after hours, how do we, if they're right in the throw of things, how can we do that? So I know that my fourth grade, I know we're looking at kindergarten through third grade, but I know in my fourth grade, we quite often would just leave things, particularly when we were studying 3D shapes, and they were playing and building 3D shapes all over the place and looking for them and hunting for them. We hung some up, but some of them are still being built on the ground. And so the kids just put the chairs around it, and they made a sign and said to the cleaner, can you give our room a miss? We promise we won't complain the room's dirty. And so we held off for a day, and I actually spoke to the cleaner as well and said, look, just if you could just work around where they've just put the barriers, that would be great, because they really would like to come back to this in the morning, and they've got plans. And so just little things like that, and really being able to celebrate those successes. So yeah, it's really important to allow the mess in the classroom. It's I think that we sometimes forget that because we're so worried about being judged about our work by principals or heads of curriculum. I'm not saying they're all like that. I've been in some of those roles myself, but I think that's a bit of a fear in our head about how we're going to be perceived as teachers if our rooms are messy, or we're letting kids make a mess, or if we're too loud. That's another thing that we're worried about as well. But absolutely, the mess is so important, and the freedom and those things to take those risks and those explorations. I think it's a really important part to be very explicit in your documentation around how you're meeting those standards. I think one of the things as administrators that we look for is that we need to know that you're meeting standards and you're teaching the curriculum that you should be teaching. And I have many principals and deputies that I've worked with have said the same thing. If you can demonstrate that, it's very hard for us to argue against your methods. And so that's particularly if you've got the data that the kids are learning and then making progress through those methods. So that's the important part, is actually that documentation and being an advocate, showing that that it's important to have that you're clearly making those links, and it's important to show families that you're making those links, so they can then be thinking differently about what does learning look like, and that play is valuable and it's learning. I think it's getting better, but I think it's something that we still need to continue to work on. Okay, I think, and I'm keeping on time, we wanted to leave some time in the at the end for questions, and so we're going to now sort of open ourselves up for extra questions.
Or comments, or thoughts.
Or thoughts, we love that. So feel free to, again, we're early childhood teachers and you are all early childhood teachers, so you know that being quiet actually worries us more than you being, okay? So call on out, that's what we say.
And you're playful people, you're in this session.
Absolutely, play away.
I think one of the important things is that we ensure that parents, administrators, principals know that play is a valid form of learning. Mm-hmm. You know, I think sometimes we get caught up with testing and the outcomes that we're supposed to be able to show, that we forget that play itself is so important, because the children revisit their learning over and over again using play, and that is really important.
Absolutely, and I think that that's a really good point too, Jennifer, that it is something, and I can say this through my research as well, that I did in Queensland with Queensland teachers, and I studied, when I studied play, it was in first and second grade teachers, and so what they were reporting is in first and second grade, kids are still not socially, emotionally ready to learn, and that they had to find ways to make play accessible in their classrooms, because they knew that it was through the play that those skills will be built, and therefore they could then reach where they needed them to be to get to the curriculum. So, great question, Robin. How can we get the message about play into the primary education curriculum? I think part of it really is just being very explicit about and demonstrating, as I said, really, and I know it sounds strange, but really writing those labels, this is what this does, and physically putting the standards on them so people can see it. And I used to take a lot of, photos, and I know that that's something a lot of teachers do. They'll take photos, or they'll use work samples and put them up on the walls, label it up with a standard. And so it's really difficult, particularly if you're showing progress to students, for administrators you will get some resistance. I know there are some that are very resistant, but really just start small, start somewhere, find a space. It doesn't have to be playful throughout the whole day. Find a space, and it might be your Friday. That might be your Fun Friday, which I know is a very popular approach back home. That might be the way that you do that. So Angela's written, her concerns on Year 1 teachers' play is deemed is something you do at home, and schools are now more data-driven. Absolutely, Angela, and it's a very big concern of mine as well, hence the research. I think that, again, we have to use our play and our documentation to really connect to the data and demonstrate that we can still achieve that same data through this method. And it takes a lot of, I don't want to sugarcoat it, because it does, it's probably a lot more work, but it's so much more rewarding work to do it that way. So that would be my my advice moving forward through that. And I'll share the example that I actually, when I was teaching in primary school, I was teaching in a very large school. There was 1,100 students at my school. It was a prep through 7th grade, so you can kind of time frame, you know, exactly when 7th grade went to high school, so a little bit back. But we had multiple classes of the same grade level, okay? So in prep, and so I understand what you're saying about Year 1, because we were feeling that in prep back then, and that very data driven. We were told that by the end of prep that all kids should be reading at a level 5 to 10 reader. And I was like, are you kidding me? Like, I'm looking at, can they, you know, do the alphabet and have phonological awareness and phonemic awareness, and so and you want them to be fluently reading, like seriously, people, they've just figured out how to dress themselves. So, you know, this was, and so that's when I started getting really creative. How can I use play to still meet the same standards that they were looking for? So that's when you have to be thinking, and I was labeling everything up. So another one, that data-driven process again, was we were asked to have prep children write a recount. Okay, so just, I know that you all sit there going, what? Yeah. So, but we had to write a recount. I'm like, I got kids that are still holding crayons like this. They're not going to be writing a recount. So I thought, well, how can I do this? So I actually, we had these, about 2 months beforehand, we had living eggs come to our classroom, and I'd taken a whole bunch of photos. So what I did was we used Photo Story, and I said to the kids, there's a folder. They've been used to be using the computers because we had been playing with computers and using them a lot. And I said, there's a folder with your name on it, so you have to look for your name. If you need to remember, go get your name card that has your photo on it so we can match it up. We did all this. They found their photo. I want you to put them in the order that it happened on the Photo Story, and they did the drag. We practiced a lot of group. We did some group ones, but then they went and did their own. So my first draft was then, could they put the photos in sequence? There's draft 1 of a recount. Second draft was they had to dictate to me what to write on top of each photo on the Photo Story. There's draft 2. Draft 3 was then, and I just wrote exactly how they said it. So if it's phonetical, if they had some speech impediment, so I wrote exactly how they said it. I didn't edit it. And then they auto recorded. What was interesting about it was that they did such a more detailed, by the third time round, and their audio recording on each slide, they were giving much longer, more in-depth descriptions, just like we would if we wrote, edited, re-edited, and did a final copy. So it's just thinking about differently, how do we approach that in a much more playful way? And that would be my big advice. Still slap the data on it, still slap the standards on it, but do a lot of documentation, and then be very active in sharing it. I can't tell you how many times I invited my principal. We're going to be sharing our photo stories. Come on down. We're going to be showing this in our play. Come on down. We're having a mud day. Come on down. And so I reckon about once a week he got an invitation. And so he was always in our classroom. And so he was always seeing the purpose of play through that process. You can absolutely, Kalani, you can absolutely show a child's progress in learning through play with data. So what you'd be doing is you'd be doing a lot of documentation. I'm assuming through your study you'll be learning about portfolios and certainly taking work samples, things like that. And it's really then about how do you identify how they're meeting those standards and really connecting those and then showing their progress, and that's your data. Okay, and so little things like that. I mean, another example would be when I was teaching is that we had, I had kids, again, prep, I'm using them as an example. We did daily message every day, and we ticked and we clapped out the syllables. We did all lots of fun things like this. By the end of my third term in this prep, I had 3 kids that were in their play because we had role modeled it just in the morning messages and on boards, whatnot. I just role modeled. I didn't ask them to do it ever. They were in their own play doing double-digit addition, and some with carrying, just because I'd role modelled it, and so they had just figured it out. And I was like, oh my gosh, you're going to love grade 1. This is fabulous. Let's go down. So let's take, and they'd drawn this picture, and they'd had to work, and I said they wanted to work out how many, I think it was how many crayons they needed, because they were talking about all the crayons are broken. I said, well, how much, they come in packs of 24, I can't remember what I said. How many crayons do we need if we can have, like if we have 3 crayons each, how many kids do we have? And they worked it all out. And they were drawing all their thinking, and it took pages and pages, but they did it. And so it was all part of their play. And I said, this is really fabulous. And I said, I'm so proud of you. I want you to go down and show Mrs. Smith in grade 1. I think she'll be so excited because she knows that you're all coming to grade 1 next year. Anyway, so off they went, showed her, and they came back, and it was a really sad moment for me. Well, they thought it was great. They got a little sticker. They thought they were made. They were like, woohoo, we've got a sticker. I'm like, cool, that's wonderful. But in the staff room that day, I said, oh, what did you think? She goes, oh, look, I'm just hoping they can write their name and take the lid off the glue stick. I was like, oh, okay. So that was really deflating for me. But I think that's the thing. We are so used to seeing data in a particular way that we sometimes forget we can be a bit more, you know, that we can be a bit more playful in our approach to collecting that data and then documenting. Really, documentation is the key, I think, to it all. And then you can really track that and create that data to show. So generally, I'm catching up with all these. So you said, if you can become fluent in speaking about the importance of play, the types of play, and what children are learning through play, you can positively influence people around you. Absolutely. And one of the things that I found, I'm also involved in the World Forum for Early Care and Education, and I know Bill's involved in that as well. And so one of the things that they do is in the play working group is we have like little business cards that we literally, one of my groups took photos of the kids playing in the playground and then put little quotes about play or the importance of play. And what she would do is every time that she would see her students out in the real world, she would give that to the parent. Thought you'd like to see them playing and what they were achieving. Thought you'd like to see this. Or you're doing such a great job supporting play. I just wanted to thank you for that. And so doing a lot of that and promoting that importance of play. And I think that's an important strategy as well. So I hope I answered everybody's question. Oh, Del, you've said about some evidence of research-based readings. Bill, bless Bill, he's worked hard and has put together a whole reference list, which we're going to send out through ECTA after this for you. And we are happy to share slides if anyone wants those as well. So just let us know. Okay, and you can also email us. That's what we're going to pop up as well. So our contact details are here. And you are more than welcome to email us, and please do keep in touch. When we get together, it can be dangerous, right, Bill?
It is.
It is dangerous. We're very playful. Yeah, we're very playful, and so we're always keen to talk to people and help you. If you have a question moving forward, because we know this is really difficult. A, we're online, so we get that's difficult. But B, we also know that sometimes you come to a PD, you get all G'd up. And then you go back to your classroom and sometimes it's like, oh, you know, but because the pressures of work life and whatnot, you know, creep in. Please do reach out to us. So everybody, Kalani, you're included in that as well. Please reach out, email us. We'd love to talk to you. If you go, look, I just need some ideas around this. Boom, we're happy to help, aren't we, Bill?
Absolutely, absolutely. I've got communication with people from all over the world.
Mm-hmm. We love it because it actually inspires us to keep working on what we're working on as well.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Thank you, everybody.
Well, Jodie and Bill, thank you very much. It's wonderful to listen to someone who's as passionate about play as myself. Without play, the world is lost, frankly, to me. So thank you very much. That was wonderful.